Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the FPL eye test for Game Week 12, where we're going to take a look at this past weekend's Premier League matches from an FPL perspective. And we're starting off with the North London Derby, where we have a new 007 in the building, and that is referring to Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur's XG in this game, which was 0.07, which is awful. They still got a goal from it because Richarlison has been their best attacking player this season. He's been their most productive player this season with 5 goals and 2 assists, I think. So that tells you something about how Spurs are struggling offensively. They're also facing the best defense in the league in Arsenal, who of course still conceded in this game because of the wonder goal from Richarlison, but they are showing once again that they are a force to be reckoned with defensively. And offensively as well, they have shown to be a better and better side as the season has gone along. I think they're looking a lot better now, even without some of their key major players offensively. They're looking amazing, and most of that is down to Eberechi Eze in this game, scoring a hat-trick against a team that he could have easily joined before Arsenal stepped up and actually brought him in to their team. And that could be vital for this season, or I say that, but I think Arsenal are now on course to winning the league quite handedly, I would say. We'll see it later with the other results and stuff, but Arsenal just looked like the best team in the Premier League by far at this stage of the season. 4-1 in this game, huge win for them in general. The first 30-40 minutes of the game wasn't really too impressive by Arsenal. The first half an hour, they had a major chance with Declan Rice early on in the game. Then after half an hour, they got a brilliant goal with 2 super underrated players, in my opinion. Mikel Merino with a fantastic pass to Leandro Trossard. Trossard now has more goals against the Big Six than Ryan Giggs had his entire career, and he has done it in 107 less games, I think. I think it's 17 compared to 16 goals against Big Six teams. I saw that stat somewhere, so I think that's correct, but correct me if I'm wrong about that. But yeah, Trossard is just a big game player. Another, like I mentioned, super underrated player. I think both him and Merino are really, really good players. And it just speaks to the depth of this Arsenal squad because they have so many amazing players here. Gabriel, of course, was the man missing for Arsenal in defense, but in comes Piero Hincapié from Ecuador and Bayer Leverkusen. He's been brought in for quite a lot of money in the summer, and he's a fantastic centre-back as well and did splendid in this game, keeping Spurs pretty much away from any big chance whatsoever, apart from that one goal, which wasn't even a big chance. The Richarlison shot from way out on the pitch, basically. But Arsenal just in complete control mostly in this game, and especially after they got the first goal, it didn't really seem like too much of a hassle. Eze then scored the second goal in the first half. He scored straight away in the second half as well, gave them 3-0 before the Richarlison goal, and that led Arsenal towards the win with a final third goal for Eze to complete his hat-trick after a Timber assist as well, which I was really happy with. I think that was the 4-1 goal, if I'm not mistaken. I got some Timber points, who, again, shows up in the top 3 non-penalty expected goal moment for Arsenal. He's just super attacking and looks like a really, really good defender to have, especially seeing as Arsenal are so good defensively and he's so much involved offensively. Saka was kept quite quiet, actually, in this game. I think Spurs sort of honed in on him and wanted him to not do much in this game. That opened up things for the likes of Eze and others to step up and get many points, but Saka still got DEFCON points again, which is something that he's been really good at lately. Declan Rice, of course, as well, also with the DEFCON points. Another tremendous game from him. I think the touch for, I think it was the second goal, if I'm not mistaken, or the third goal, I should say. I can't remember. One of the goals, at least, he had a really vital touch that led to the goal for Arsenal. So yeah, Declan Rice is just a fantastic player who I've been singing his praises for a long time. Didn't really get any attacking returns, I think, in this game, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But he's been a great asset both for Arsenal and in FPL this season in general. So yeah, I think the takeaways from this game is just the fact that Arsenal are super good and Spurs are just not that good. This is you could explain it with Spurs just facing a really tough team in Arsenal, but they did this as well against Chelsea. So in these tougher games, I think Spurs have shown to be not that good, and that's typically what has basically shown, or that's basically what has been. I'm trying to speak here. That has basically been the strength of Thomas Frank in the past with Brentford. He was always good at setting up against these bigger teams and getting results in those fixtures. And so far, they've only managed to beat City in the bigger games, but they've really struggled in the other big games this season. They almost got a win against Man United last game week, but that has shown to be not so impressive with the Man United result from this game week, which we'll get to pretty soon. But yeah, I think for Spurs, they just set up too defensively in this game, of course. It is sort of It is game dependent, of course. They set up pretty defensively against Man City as well, and ended up with a 2-0 win in that game. But Arsenal are just so much more solid than City defensively, and Spurs just didn't have any chance of scoring in this game whatsoever, apart from that wonder strike from Richarlison, who should just move on to a different club because, he does not get appreciated by Spurs, even though he scored the most goals for them now and has the most goal contributions. He had at least like a good moment, but he's also been like pretty weak this season in general, even though he scored quite a few goals in total. He has some really brilliant moments, Richarlison, but he's just like overall not been a great player. That's neither here nor there. So Spurs, I still think with the fixtures that they have, they are just stayaways in general. Arsenal, there are just too many good assets to count, really. Eze is still fantastic, but obviously Odegaard coming back now is going to make that a bit more difficult. Trossard has to play, Odegaard has to play, Marino is looking good as well, playing as a striker in the absence of Gyökeres is coming back, Harvard is coming back, Jesus is coming back, Madueke is coming back. There's just so many Arsenal assets. So I still think I'm leaning towards Saka, who's going to get more involvement in other games. And then defensively, I think you should still try to look to double up with Arsenal defense. I think Timber and Calafiori are still the best options there. But some people are worried about their playing time because there are so many matches. But Calafiori has actually been rested quite a lot this season, including in this past international break because of like a slight injury doubt. So yeah, I think they are both really vital players for Arsenal, and I think they're both going to be really good. And I'm speaking about Timber and Calafiori there. So yeah, some really good defensive Arsenal assets, of course, as we've known most of the season, despite not getting a clean sheet in this game either. But I think the clean sheets are coming, even with some tough games coming up against Chelsea now next week. We'll see what happens in that game. That will be another tough test for Arsenal, who are also facing Bayern Munich in midweek. Spurs are also facing PSG in midweek. Really tough times for Spurs, and people are already calling for Thomas Frank to be sacked, which I think is very premature. They should sort of learn from Arsenal and give their managers some time. That's usually what my MO is, usually with managers. You need to give managers some time to settle in the squad and make their mark on their team, basically. And Frank just hasn't had enough time to do that so far, I think. Yeah, that is that game. Let's move on to the next one. That's going to be the match between Manchester United and Everton. I did speak about how the Spurs 2-2 draw against Man United just doesn't look quite as good anymore because Man United looked really bad at home to Everton in this game. Really strange situation at the start of this game with Everton getting a man down after subbing off Coleman with an injury. They got another man out of the game, and that was Idrissa Gana Gueye, who basically slapped his own teammate Michael Keane in the face after he was super mad at Michael Keane for like a defensive mishap. And then Michael Keane pushed him, and then he like sort of slapped him, and the ref just like straight away just red card. Really, really dumb from Idrissa Gana Gueye, but he should be so happy that Everton managed to get a win regardless from this match, which is kind of crazy. But Man United were just super lackluster. Like I've written there in the main takeaway, woke up too late. They looked really like meek and like not that good early on in the game. And of course, they got several chances towards the end of the game with Everton just like pulling back and playing super defensively. There weren't really that many like major chances either. Like I think Fernandes had a really good chance in the box where he really should have shot it better. There were a couple of nice heading chances as well where Pickford had some brilliant saves. Xerxes had some good chances, but he's not the most prolific goal scorer. So I think Man United just looked pretty weak offensively in general without Sesko and Cunha in the starting lineup for this game. So yeah, Everton also should give some major props to Keane and Dewsbury Hall. Scored in the last game, or got an assist, I think, at least, and got DEFCON points. Got DEFCON points again in this game, and also scored the winning goal. A brilliant, beautiful goal from Dewsbury Hall, who's shown to be a really good asset as the number 10 for Everton. He's only 4.9 now. He's actually gone down in price since the start of the season, so he is still a really good option, especially when Everton gets better fixtures from game week 18 onwards. I might just get Dewsbury Hall in for myself when I'm looking to wildcard around that time, most likely. But yeah, great goal from him. Also a great performance from Jordan Pickford. He's my standout player. Not only did he make 6 saves and get a clean sheet in this game, he was also quite pivotal in just making sure that the situation with Keane and Idrissa Gana Gueye didn't escalate even more, because he just went straight between both of them, being the main guy, the captain for Everton, doing his role and trying to shut down any more mishaps from Everton in that situation, which was such a mess up from Everton, but they managed to get the win in the end. Their first win at Old Trafford since 2013. Amazing results for Everton, who I think now are, ahead of Liverpool in the table? I might actually have to check that as we go along here. But when it comes to the rest of their defensive players, I think they had like a really good defensive game, Everton in general. Both Tarkowski and Michael Keane got DEFCON points. The same goes for Mykolenko, who got 10 defensive contributions. And Everton are now, they're ahead of Liverpool in 11th. Man United are still 10th with 18 points, and Liverpool are 12th with 18 points as well. And Spurs also, for that matter, who we just talked about, are also on 18 points. So a lot of mid teams in the Premier League, it feels like, this season in general. And two of them here in Man United and Everton. But Everton got the last straw. They had the match winner in both ends, as I've written in the main takeaway there. Dewsbury Hall with a brilliant goal. Pickford with some really nice saves and saving his teammates from further embarrassment after that stupid start to the game for them. But hats off to Everton and the way that they defended. David Moyes is really good at defending, of course. He's a super great manager, and he's shown his worth here against his former team as well. That had to taste really good for Moyes after that horrid start to the game. So great game for Everton. Not that good of a game for Man United. I've been sort of tempted to go, because I already have Mbeumo, who was pretty frisky in this game, or not frisky, I shouldn't say that, but he was pretty involved in this game. Had a pretty decent breakaway chance even before the red card, I think. Really early in the game, where he sort of messed up the ball and could have easily gone for a shot earlier, but he sort of messed it up a bit and had to go backwards. He was quite involved. I'm pretty happy to have him still in my team, but I was looking to double up with Bruno Fernandes, and I might just wait now and do the swap from Mbeumo to Fernandes rather than doubling up at some point. But they do have good matches coming up against West Ham at home and Wolves away pretty soon, Man United. They have Palace now away, which is a tough game, of course, but after that they have two really good games. So I could still do that switch where I have two Man United midfielders after game week 13, but after this game, I was a bit more put off by that idea. When it comes to Everton, like I've said several times, they have really good fixtures from game week 18 onwards. I don't think this is the time to invest in Everton players. Iliman Ndiaye, who's one of their best players, is leaving for African Cup of Nations as well. And offensively, they haven't really shown much. Grealish hasn't done much for a long time. Dewsbury Hall has actually been the main guy for them, because their strikers can't really be relied on either, with Tierno Berry and Beto not really doing much. So I think it's more defenders, and Dewsbury Hall is what I'm looking at here. So Michael Keane for 4.5, clean sheet yet again. Sort of involved in a really stupid decision, or a stupid situation with Idrissa Gana Gueye, but he had a really good game after that and defended the clean sheet. So I think Michael Keane and Dewsbury Hall are the two main guys for Everton to look for, but I think also you can wait for that until game week 18. When it comes to Man United, it's mostly attackers. It's Fernandes or Mbeumo, or maybe both potentially if you're brave enough for that when they have West Ham and Wolves. But Mbeumo also is going to African Cup of Nations pretty soon. Might be game week 15, might be as early as game week 15, but most likely it's going to be as late as game week 17 that he leaves for African Cup of Nations. So yeah, I think Fernandes is going to be really good pretty soon. He was in pretty good positions in this game, but Man United just looked a bit weak in this game, and they might also make a manager change if something doesn't drastically change with their team, because they have been struggling again after a brief period of some optimism. Now they're looking a bit back to some of their worst performances again, a year after Amorim made his debut as a manager. So yeah, maybe he should be given more time, but it's really tough to see any semblance of a good team here after 1 year of Amorim in charge. So yeah, let's move on to the next game. That is Liverpool against Nottingham Forest. Speaking of managers with a bit of a threat to their job, or being in the hot seat, you could say that about Arne Slot, but of course they won the league last season, so it is a bit early, I think, to call for his head. But they have had some massive, terrible losses, and this is probably the worst of the lot against Sean Dyche's Nottingham Forest, who are, to their credit, looking really good under Sean Dyche. As I've written in the main takeaway there for Nottingham Forest, this is a Sean Dyche dream team. They have really good centre-backs in Murillo and Milenkovic, just perfect for a Sean Dyche type of system. I think Nico Williams has been, or Nico Williams as he's called, has looked really, really good as well under Sean Dyche. He's been looking pretty good this whole season, I think, been in pretty good positions in general. He's someone that I'm looking at as a potential guy to bring in, because Nottingham Forest have some pretty good fixtures coming up now, actually. So this might be the time to jump on a type of player like that. So I think Nico Williams is someone that could be a good option. Murillo, of course, getting DEFCON as well. Murillo 19 defense contributions, Nico Williams with 18 defense contributions. Elliot Anderson as well is another great option. I think he had another assist in this game, if I'm not mistaken. 16 defense contributions as well for him. He's getting a lot of points lately. Milenkovic also getting on the defense contributions points. So they have some really good options again now, Nottingham Forest, with a manager more like what they had last season, and they're looking more like themselves like they did last season. Savona also, another defender with the absence of Olaina now for a long time. Savona's going to be in really good positions, as he was in this game as well, scoring the second goal for Nottingham Forest. So I think Nottingham Forest actually have some really good assets that you could look to go in for. And the main guy I actually had as a standout player as well is Morgan Gibbs-White. He was really involved in a lot of attacking play for Nottingham Forest in this game in general. He scored a goal, of course, as well, the third goal for Nottingham Forest, but he could have had more in this game if he was a bit more, if he had a bit more luck, and also if he was a bit more resolute in what he was supposed to do in attack. But he's looked really good under Sean Dyche. I think he has a goal in 3 games in a row now, actually. So Gibbs-White is looking really good as well for Nottingham Forest. So a lot of good options all of a sudden from that team. Even Hutchinson, who's there in the top 3 non-penalty expected goal moment, had a really nice involvement for the Gibbs-White goal, where he basically forced the save from Alisson and Gibbs-White scored the rebound. But yeah, spoke a lot about Nottingham Forest there for a good reason. They've been really good under Sean Dyche, and I feel like they need some, they need to get some flowers, or get their flowers, I guess, after a 3-0 win at Anfield, their second win in Anfield in a row, after they beat the champions last year at Anfield early in the season as well. Liverpool still just looking really lost. Nothing makes sense as everything in the main takeaway. They looked pretty good defensively for a couple game weeks, and now they lost 2 3-0 games in a row against Man City and now Nottingham Forest at home. It's just really hard to know what to expect from Liverpool. Isak started this game again, still looks awful up front. Like, he's just still not in form, like not even close to being in form. So yeah, he's not even that good either. 3-0 defeat, of course, but Virgil van Dijk still managed to get defensive contribution points at least, so he got 3 points in the end from that game. So me bringing him in is not the worst decision in the world, but looking at how Liverpool are defensively now, I'm not too confident in them. And offensively as well, just struggling to have any semblance of a good team. They are really struggling with the loss of Diogo Jota and also Luis Diaz moving to Bayern Munich. And of course also what I said at the start of the season, Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to be sorely missed. He is an outstanding player. He's been so important to Liverpool's identity for the last 7 or 8 years, and they're really struggling without him. He is such a good player for them offensively that they're really missing alongside those 2 other guys that I did mention. Even Darwin Núñez could eventually be someone that they could have missed, because he at least made something happen in front of goal. Now with Isak playing most of the games, he's just looked like a shell of himself. He's looked awful. And I just wouldn't really touch any Liverpool players. It seems like currently they have really good fixtures, starting against West Ham away from home next time around, but I just don't really trust any Liverpool assets. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a single Liverpool player in my weekly wildcard draft, which was not what I expected at the start of the season, where Game Week 13 was pinpointed as the game week to wildcard, because that's when Liverpool and Man City's fixtures get really, really good. But Liverpool's fixtures, even though they are really good, they just don't have enough super good assets either in this game. At least Gakpo played 90 minutes, but he didn't really score. Wasn't really too close to scoring. McAllister had the biggest chance early in the game. Liverpool actually looked pretty good before Nottingham Forest scored the first goal. It should be said at least, or should also be said. But yeah, they just really crumbled. They are just not they seemed so invincible in this first 5 seasons or 5 games of the season. They looked invincible. It looked like they had the winner's mentality, just they could win every single game. And now it seems like the complete opposite. As soon as they concede, they're just completely lost. And you can't spell lost without slot. So just a bit different than my headline there, but it is also a bit of a wordplay, I guess. But anyways, Liverpool just not looking good. Nottingham Forest looking really good. That's not what I expected to say from this fixture, but that is what is true. And that's what happened in this game. 3-0 for Nottingham Forest in a really interesting game all over. Newcastle against Man City is also a really interesting game. The most interesting thing, I think, was the fact that it was 0-0 at the half, because there were so many huge chances early. Haaland, you can see there, I captained Haaland, and I think that was completely the right decision after looking at this game. Newcastle defensively just has been really shaky, and Haaland has several major chances to score. And even the expected goals number doesn't even tell the full story, because the biggest chance that he had was super early in the game. He was put through. Nick Pope comes out at 30 yards out for some reason, and Haaland could easily just run past him and have an open goal, but he shoots from 30 yards out. And that leads to the XG for that shot being 0.19, when it should have been a 90% chance of scoring. So I think even the expected goal numbers is not telling the full story in terms of how many chances Haaland had to actually get even more points. Not to mention that they had 2 penalty shouts as well, with Foden getting tackled, another handball situation with Newcastle that went their way. That's why I've written a game of inches here. There were a lot of decisions here. Also, the winning goal for Newcastle was potentially offside for Bruno Guimaraes. I think it was him that was offside, or looked offside at least. But the decision was no offside. I think this is down to the way Premier League are doing offsides, where they have like a bit of a margin of error, which I think is actually correct, because you can't really, like, people say that you can determine offsides, but you can't, because you're judging based off of like 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second cameras that don't really get the full picture. You got to stop it in the right frame, which is something that's never talked about when it comes to offsides. People never take a second look to see if it is actually stopped at the correct frame. But like, there's so many different aspects that make it like not a complete perfect science to know if it's offside or not. So I think when the goal was given, I think it's fair enough to just give it. I don't really care that much, like whether it's 1 centimeter offside, 1 centimeter onside. Both those goals are just as equal in terms of like being deserved, in my opinion. Of course, it's not really like this is like a whole philosophical discussion I'm not going to have now. I know a lot of people are going to be disagreeing with me on that topic as well. I very much like to express that further, I guess, in the comments if you have an issue with me on that. But anyways, that's beside the point. But the main thing from this game was the fact that there were so many chances. Harvey Barnes had an absolute sitter in the first half as well. Shot it wide from like an open net, but he obviously made it good again by scoring 2 goals. Haaland had several other chances to score as well after that early chance. Had a shot after a pass from Nico O'Reilly that went straight at the goalkeeper. And another pretty big chance as well, Haaland. He is 1 goal away from getting 100 goals, which would make him the fastest to reach 100 goals by quite a distance. I think he still has like 14 games to complete it before the record of Alan Shearer is no longer attainable. But that's definitely going to happen at some point with Haaland, unless there is a curse with the number 100. Maybe he can't score, because in this game he easily could have had a hat-trick and he got 0 goals, and Man City managed to lose in the end in this game. But Harvey Barnes gave Newcastle the lead. Man City just straight away responded with a goal of their own, and then that final sort of controversial goal for Newcastle, where it could have been offside, could have been onside. It is a game of inches after all, as I've written, but Newcastle got the lucky decisions in this game. I think like what Man City fans should be more upset about are the penalty situations, where I think like the Foden situation especially, yes, he did get the shot off, but for me, whenever someone shoots a ball and he gets tackled afterwards, my line in terms of whether it's a penalty or not, if it is a yellow card offense. And when you do a tackle where you stamp someone on the foot, that is a yellow card offense, and that should be a foul, and that should be a penalty, which Haaland easily could have scored. But obviously he also missed the last penalty that it took. Maybe he wouldn't even have taken the penalty. Most likely he would have taken the penalty. But so another missed chance there for Haaland to get some more points, and he didn't get any points in this game. He blanked, got 2 points, 4 points for anyone that captained him. Which was a downside this game week, but not that many differential captains did much anyway. Bruno Fernandes did nothing, Mateta did nothing, Saka did nothing. Not really a good game week for captaincy in general this game week. But if you captain Harvey Barnes, congrats to you. 2 goals for him, and that made it 2-1 for Newcastle. A huge win at home for them. They've been so much better at home than they have been away. But in this game, it was mostly down to their attack, because defensively, they led in a lot of chances against a really eager Man City squad that still didn't manage to get the win. They are still struggling. They have some big flaws in their team, especially with Rodri still out with injuries. And that's why I think Arsenal are the major favorites to win the Premier League. I had them as the favorites from the start of the season, ahead of Liverpool, and Liverpool are looking just completely out of it. They're not going to win the league. Man City still have a chance, of course. You can never count out Pep Guardiola, who in my opinion is probably the best manager of all time, potentially. I don't know. A bit controversial again. A lot of controversial takes in this section with Newcastle against Man City. So you can never count them out. They always have that chance of like winning 20 straight games or something towards the end of the season to win the league. But it hasn't looked too good for Man City so far this season, with 4 defeats in 12 games, I think. In the league, that's not the best. That's not a winning formula for the Premier League. So yeah, not the best game for them. Also, the main takeaway should not be remiss to, or I should be, however you say that, we use that word. I'd be remiss to not mention that is what I think is grammatically correct. Sorry, my English is my second language. Bruno Guimaraes is one of the main guys for Newcastle this season. I think he's actually 3rd now for midfielders in terms of points. I have to double check that as well. But he's someone that I've noticed like a couple game weeks back as well, or most of the season really. he's just constantly in really good attacking positions for Newcastle. And in this game as well, 2 assists. He was fantastic. No, there's actually quite a few people in front of him, but it's really close. Like, he is basically the third, like Eze has the third, like Eze, Minten, and Wemo all have 61 points as the third best players, joint third best players in midfield so far this season. And right behind them are Neto, Caicedo, and Bruno Guimaraes with 60 points each as well. So yeah, he's just been getting a lot of points, got 2 assists in this game. You can see there's non-penalty expected goal moment here. He's just super involved in the box for Newcastle this season. I think this is a trend, like it is officially a trend now, like midfielders just getting way more involved in attack. And I think Bruno Guimaraes has been someone that is super underrated as an FPL prospect. I think he's someone that I could bring in. He plays 90 minutes every game, super attacking, he can score, he can assist. And when Newcastle gets some really good fixtures pretty soon, he might be a good option for a pretty cheap price for that team. But yeah, 2-1 win for Newcastle. Not the best result for City. Haaland owners should not be too discouraged, and O'Reilly owners should also be kind of encouraged as well from this game. Had another huge opportunity to get an assist to Haaland, and it seems like he's pretty much nailed for Man City as well. So he's a really good option, but of course a really damning loss for Man City in this game. Next up, we have Burnley against Chelsea. Chelsea have faced Wolves at home and Burnley away in the last 2 game weeks. 3-0 against Wolves, 2-0 against Burnley. No issues in either match. And finally, Enzo Fernandez actually returned for my team. I was close to selling him for this game week. Luckily, I didn't, because I was going to sell him and bring in Saka. But I just looked at the fixtures. Well, not really, because Arsenal just decimated Spurs, and Saka easily could have had several goals. He could have been the SA guy for that game as well. But Enzo had Burnley. I couldn't sell him for that game, especially with Palmer out and Enzo being on penalties and Enzo being more offensively minded. He just finds a way to be in good positions. Once again, he's in the top 3 for non-penalty expected goal moment, and he got the goal because he was eager to score and scored after a brilliant assist from my guy Mark Guiu, who is just a really good striker in general. I feel like he's a really good young talent who's sort of been buried a bit as like the 3rd, 4th option in the Chelsea attack normally. But he showed his worth with the second goal here with a beautiful assist for Enzo Fernandez, which was fantastic for me with the 11 points for Enzo Fernandez. Really appreciate that from Mark Guiu and Enzo Fernandez, of course. Enzo was also close for the first goal for Chelsea. A really nice cross from Jamie Gittins, who actually had a really good game as well. I think the Chelsea wingers have been better and better this season. Pedro Neto is someone that I haven't even mentioned. He scored the goal. It was a cross from Gittins on the back post. Neto comes, Enzo doesn't reach the ball, and Neto comes on the back post and headers it in. Neto was really lively in this game as well. He's been super good lately. I shouldn't use that adverb too much, but he's been just remarkably good, Pedro Neto, lately, and I think he is like one of the main assets to have from Chelsea. Even when Palmer comes back, Neto's still going to be pretty offensively minded. Enzo's going to lose some of his luster when Palmer's back in terms of an FPL asset. And now Chelsea don't really have the best fixtures either. So I wouldn't really go for Chelsea players now. But like right around like giving 19-20, I think Chelsea get like a really nice run of fixtures again. And that's where Neto could be a really nice option, because he's been, outstanding the last few game weeks for Chelsea. I think the wingers, Garnacho, Neto, Estevao, Gittins even now providing some goods here. They're looking a lot better now, Chelsea offensively, but of course it is helped by playing the likes of Wolverhampton and Burnley in back-to-back games. Burnley, as always, they are just struggling a bit to defend. They also they have some pretty good offensive players, but they just really struggle in the final third. That's what I have as the main takeaway for them. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I've seen them this season where they've been like in really good positions to get a big chance, but then they don't pull off the final pass or don't take the shot to get the actual chance from it. So their XG is usually not that good, but they have like chances to get chances, if you get what I mean. But yeah, they just struggle to convert it into actual chances, and they are just struggling in general this season. I feel like they are the main team to target. All like underlying numbers say that. Their results and points say that as well. That is a team to target in general, but they do have something with them. Like they're not like, I wouldn't count them completely out of staying up in the Premier League, but is looking quite bleak now for Burnley in general. So yeah, both these teams kind of stayaways currently, with Chelsea having some tougher fixtures, Arsenal in its next game week. Then they have Leeds, which is a nice fixture, but after that they have some tough fixtures again before they get a good run from game week 18, 19, 20, around there. So I would stay away from Chelsea assets for now. Palmer's going to come back soon. It seems like he might even be back for the game in midweek in the Champions League, so against Barcelona, which is a huge game. So that will be something interesting to watch as well, and that will obviously dampen Enzo Fernandez's appeal, and I might sell him now after he finally gave me 11 points this game week with a beautiful goal towards the end of the match there for Chelsea. Moving on to Wolverhampton against Palace, I did not get any beautiful goals from my attackers in this game. I got a clean sheet from Richards, but I did not have Munoz, which is quite sad because he is one of my favorite assets in FPL, and I haven't had him this season. Still kicking myself for not being able to do that at any point so far this season. But part of that is because I have Richards, who's doing really well on his own. I also have Mateta and Sarr, and I'm just waiting for them to really pull it off. Sarr is blanking every single game week. This game week, he wasn't even close to scoring, so I am starting to lose some patience with him. But of course, I'm going to sell him before he goes to African Cup of Nations. But he has Burnley, which I just talked about is a nice fixture in game week 15. But this was another nice fixture against Wolves. I did expect Mateta or Sarr, or maybe even both, to do something in this game, but both of them blanked yet again. And yeah, that has just been the story of the game for me with Palace assets. Whenever I have Mateta, Sarr does really well. Whenever I have Sarr, I have Mateta does really well. And whenever I have both, I guess, both kind of struggle a bit. So yeah, Mateta had another huge chance, another big chance missed, came through one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I feel like this happened a lot in this game week, like one-on-ones just completely fluffed. And Mateta just missed it once again because he's not that lethal of a striker. And now there's rumors that he is like on the outs as well. He might leave Palace because he's like not completely happy with his contract, trying to get a renewal, and they're not meeting in terms of their like his demands and stuff. So he might be on the outs. And he also only played 59 minutes in this game. Didn't even get 2 points, got only 1 point from this game because it was subbed off for Nketiah, which I've seen in the past. Earlier this season, I just have to remind people of that. He was subbed off after the 67th minute, I think, in a game when they were also leading, which I think is like the thing. Like whenever they have a chance to rest him, that's when they do it. That's when they sub him off early. But the following game after that, he scored a hat-trick. So that's just the volatility with Mateta. I would just keep him for the good fixtures with Palace. Still, like I have him now, but I think like on a wildcard, I would probably prioritize having two Palace defenders rather than having Mateta or Sarr. I would pick between Mateta or Sarr, and I would probably have two Palace defenders because they are looking really good at the moment. Richards keeps getting points. Didn't get Defcon points this time around because they played Wolves, of course, and they had an early lead. But Richards usually gets Defcon points. Lacroix has been good at that department. He got an assist in this game as well, Lacroix. Munoz obviously scored a goal. He's been really good. So Munoz, Gahey has been great all season. So they have so many good defensive assets, Palace, that I would probably double up on their defense if I had the chance. But they also, like their fixtures are running out a bit now. They have they have Man United at home next game, which I think looks really good now since Man United looks so bad against Everton. And then Palace play the game against Burnley, but then they have Fulham away, and they also have Man City at home, I think, after those two game weeks. So not the best fixtures, but they are still really a good team. Like we've seen them have some big results in the past this season as well. So I wouldn't count them out, but it might be time to sell some Palace assets like in a couple game weeks time. But still, they are pretty good assets. Even Mateta and Sarr, I'm just keeping faith in them. They can easily score like a 15-pointer next game week. That could always happen with them. But yeah, really sad that I don't have anyone else. When it comes to Wolves, they are just like, yeah, awful. I've written in the main takeaway, Derby record in danger. Could the points total be broken? I think Wolves have like 2 points so far this season. They had 2 games in a row where they almost beat Brighton and Spurs, where they conceded super late. But since then, they've just been terrible. They sacked their manager, of course, and brought in Rob Edwards as a new manager. And judging from this game, it wasn't really too much nice to say about the team, especially defensively. I think the goal from Munoz, especially, like, there were just a bunch of Wolves players, like defenders, like in one area, and like no one spread out to cover other Palace players. And Munoz just had a super simple task to score in an open net, basically. But that's the beauty of Munoz. He's such an attacking player that he gets offensive points, he gets defensive points sometimes in the same game. He gets both of them, just like in this game. He's just an outstanding asset that, I would definitely have on the wildcard, and I'm regretting not having in the wildcard draft for this past weekly wildcard draft series that I had. He's definitely going to be back in it for this upcoming game week. But yeah, Wolves, not really too good. Yes, they had pretty high XG, but I didn't really see much in terms of their chances that would equate to that. Arias had the biggest chance of them all. Like there was a cross into the box, and the ball would have gone to Strand Larsen if Arias just would have let the ball pass him. But rather than taking a touch and having a better finish or letting the ball pass him to Strand Larsen, he just decided to just get it like super weak shot, like not even on target, like out off target shot from Arias, who really disappointed me there in that instance. That's one of my pet peeves in football. Whenever you get a cross, like when you don't feel like you have a good chance of getting like a good attack or a good shot on target, just leave the ball or at least touch it down and like bring it with you rather than taking like a really scuffed shot, because that really ruined that chance for Wolves and Arias in that instance. But yeah, he's been a bit disappointing. Wolves have been a bit disappointing in general. Their season is going down fast, and Rob Edwards has a huge task on his hands if he wants to change things for the season. They are still the main team to target every single game week. Aston Villa playing at home against Wolves this next game week, which is even a derby for like the West Midlands. So I think Aston Villa assets are something that you could look into, because Wolves, both offensively and defensively, they are looking really bad this season. And yeah, it's not just a trend, it is a fact. Like, they are just a really bad team this season in general. Palace are a really good team, Wolves really bad team. 2-0 win for Palace despite losing the XG battle, which I was quite surprised by. But yeah, not really too surprised since they got an early lead. That's usually what happens with the XG battle in that instance. If you're just happy to sit back and win the game easily like Palace did in this game. So yeah, 2-0 Palace, not much more to say about that game. Next up, we have Brighton against Brentford, which was a really interesting game from both perspectives, both Brighton and Brentford. Brentford had 2 penalties, of course, which is the main reason why they have 1.91 XG. And the main reason that they only have 1 goal from that is because Igor Thiago missed the penalty in injury time, which would have brought him 3 bonus points and so much glory. But instead he missed it and got a penalty miss, so he lost 9 points out of that. And I have Igor Thiago in my own team. Really upset with that after I was actually at a game in Norway when they were playing. And yeah, I was really upset to see him miss a penalty towards the end there when he had scored a penalty earlier in the game. But Thiago still looking good. He's in really good positions, had several other good positions to score. You can see from the expected goal numbers there, 0.18 is obviously not a great number, but he was in good positions to shoot, but he just wouldn't shoot because he didn't get the ball in the correct place basically to shoot it. So yeah, but he was in really good positions. He also sort of caused the first penalty by having a really nice heel pass to Dango, who was tackled by Brighton defender, and that gave Igor Thiago the chance from the penalty spot. He scores that goal. Brighton come back with a really nice goal from Welbeck, well-timed run, brilliant cross from Minte, brilliant finish from Welbeck. Both those two guys are fantastic assets, I think, in this game. They are really cheap, and Brighton are looking better and better as the season goes along, getting another win in this game. And Minte and Welbeck looking like the main guys here. Minte is the main man. That makes more sense alliteration-wise, but Welbeck is also a really good asset if you want another good striker. I think both Welbeck and Thiago are really good strikers. I mentioned Mateta last time around, or in the last game. Holland before that. Those are like the 4 main strikers I would look at currently, and they're all delivering as it stands right now. But Minte was like the main guy. The assist was obviously really good, but it was also a fantastic run by Welbeck and a fantastic finish by Welbeck. And the second assist was kind of lucky, like a deflected shot that went to Weaver, who scored. But Minte thoroughly still deserved the 11 points because he was so vital to Brighton's attack in this game. He's been one of the main guys on the wing this season. He's been one of the better players, attacking players in the league, in my opinion. He's playing 90 minutes pretty much every single game for Brighton. He's super involved in everything, and he deserves all the points that he has gotten. And anyone that brought him in a couple game weeks back, congrats to you, because he's looking like a really good asset in general for Brighton and in FPL in general. So yeah, hats off to you guys for having him. Igor Thiago also looking like a good asset. The penalty frequency is going to drop down a little bit, I think, because he's had 5 penalties so far this season, scoring 4 of them. But yeah, they just keep getting penalties. Dango is always on the lookout for getting easy pens. Shade as well. I think the second pen that they got was actually like a bit dubious, so I guess ball don't lie, as they say. It was like, yes, it was like a hold from the Brentford guy, but the cross was just like way ahead, like way over the head of the guy who fell down, Shade. So I think it was a bit of a cheap penalty. But I think Brentford also might have been like maybe I'm mixing up games here, but yeah, there was another like sort of controversial decision, I feel like, in this game as well. But in the end, 2-1 win for Brighton. They are looking really good. Brentford is still looking like a solid team. 1.91 XG away from home. Of course, that's mostly down to the penalties, but they easily could have had a draw here in this game, and they took the lead as well, so they could have won the game. But fantastic for Minte and Welbeck, and also Weaver, I should say, for a good finish for the second goal to turn it around for Brighton in that match. Bournemouth against West Ham, also a really interesting game in general, especially if you look at the expected goal numbers. 4.005 expected goals from Bournemouth, 0.65 expected goals from West Ham. And like I said, in the previous, like the Palace against the Wolves game, if you get an early lead, especially as the weaker team away from home, you're typically going to lose the XG battle. And that was the case for like in a massive way in this game. West Ham scoring twice really early. Callum Wilson scoring both goals against his former team. Really good finishes, both of them. Petrovic really should have done better for the first goal, but I think he was like sort of like retreating back because there was like a long pass from Areola, who we'll get to. And Petrovic had to like sort of back up to get back towards his line, and Wilson just shot it quickly. And Petrovic had to react quickly, and he wasn't able to like stamp his foot down, wasn't able to anchor his foot into the ground, and sort of slipped as he was trying to push the ball away, and that meant that he just pushed the ball into his own net instead. So Wilson gave the lead for West Ham. The second goal, I think, was even more impressive. Like, it didn't look quite as impressive because it was in the box and like it was a shorter finish, but like just how he brought the ball down and then finished straight away, Wilson. That's the sign of a proper striker, which is what West Ham had in this game, and Bournemouth were sorely lacking because Bournemouth had so many chances in the second half. Should be noted in this, I think in this stadium in general, I think it was Bournemouth against Fulham early in the season. Maybe that was Fulham Bournemouth. I think it was in Bournemouth where they beat Fulham, where it was like sort of a game of two halves with the wind like really affecting the game. And that was the case in this game as well. West Ham had the wind in their sails in the first half, and that helped them getting the first goal especially. And in the second half, Bournemouth were the ones just completely just piled onto the goal for West Ham. Nuno Espirito Defcon, as written in the main takeaway there for West Ham, the West Ham manager, he just tried to defend his lead with all that he could. But West Ham, of course, have bad centre-backs, so that didn't really work out. Kilman with a really stupid handball that gave Bournemouth a penalty that Tavernier scored with the absence of Semenyo, who was out both with illness and an ankle injury. We'll see how he's potentially returning for next game week. But he was out. Tavernier scored the penalty. Enes Ünal, another striker option for Bournemouth. He has been back from injury lately, and he had a brilliant goal. Great pass from Sanessi, who could have had even more assists in this game, but Unal's first touch and finish for that goal was brilliant. But that was basically like the only finish that was acceptable from Bournemouth in this game. Even the penalty from Tavernier was just like a straight down the middle, just power shot from him. But they had several major chances. They basically just shot it straight at Areola every single time. Areola with 10 saves in this game. I think he prevented like 2.65 xG, or whatever is lacking from the xG. You can see there so basically 2.05 is what he would have prevented, I guess. I guess some of those finishes are off target as well. So I don't know XG enough to talk about that. But anyways, he made sure that Bournemouth didn't score more goals. That's the main takeaway from this video, basically, or not this video, but from this match. So yeah, Areola, several saves. He was in the right position every time, but the finishes from Bournemouth were just awful. So that's what I've written in the main takeaway for Bournemouth. There were a lot of W's there, so I was just thinking Wolves, but would have won with Wilson. 4 W's for Bournemouth there. Because if they had Callum Wilson as a striker, I think they would have won this game like 4-2 instead. But Wilson was, or 4-0 even, because Wilson wouldn't have been at West Ham, because he scored 2 brilliant goals, and Bournemouth strikers really struggled. Evan Nilsson has always been a weak finisher. Kruppi Jr. has been really lethal so far this season, but he had several chances, like one of the major ones where it was a good save by Areola, but it was just a really bad finish from Kruppi Jr. shooting straight at Areola's feet instead of scoring a goal there. Aldi also, of course, had a good chance. Bournemouth had several good chances, but they didn't manage to get the 3 points, but they did manage to get a draw at least in the end. In a match where West Ham fought valiantly defensively is what I'm trying to say. As you can see from the defensive contribution numbers there, I've listed only 4 players plus 3 others. So that means 7 players got defensive contribution points in this game for West Ham. Jared Bowen as the first forward ever in FPL with recorded, I guess like Defcon wasn't the thing, like yeah. So it is the first forward ever. The first forward this season and the first forward ever to get defensive contribution points is Jared Bowen. 12 defensive contributions from him. I think it was Potts with 14 who led the way, or maybe Matias Fernandes or something like that. There were 3 others at least, but I've listed like the main FPL targets in Bowen, Kilman, Diouf, and Todibo. Diouf hasn't been the best asset for West Ham after a really good preseason. He's had a couple of assists, but West Ham just keep conceding goals this season, so he hasn't been the best asset. But he got defensive contribution points at least in this game with 10 defensive contributions. Todibo got 10 defensive contributions as well, on top of his assist to the second Wilson goal. So that was really good for him. And Bowen at least got defensive contribution points, despite not getting any goals or assists in this game either. West Ham keeps scoring goals, but Bowen just doesn't get them currently. That's typically what happens with West Ham, because Bowen is usually the guy who either scores or assists for West Ham, but he hasn't really done that lately. But he's still been a good player, because he is a fantastic option for West Ham, especially once the fixtures get better in FPL as well. He might be someone to get back in the team for me, because he served me pretty well up until game week 10 when I sold him. He was really good, and then after I sold him, he's blanked. So I'm quite happy with that as like an FPL player. But of course, I would have wanted him to score the winning goal here as a West Ham fan. But it wasn't meant to be for West Ham. They led 2-0, didn't manage to keep the lead, but they fought valiantly and managed to get a point at least in a tough away game against Bournemouth, where they really should have lost, really, if you look at the chances. Yeah. Next up, the final two games of the game week. Or not really necessarily in chronological order, because the Man United Everton game was the last one, but I digress. Fulham and Sunderland, interesting game, because Fulham had been in like a bit of a downturn in terms of form. Sunderland have had a really good start to the season, but this game, as you can see from the 50 goal numbers, 2.16 for Fulham, 0.17 for Sunderland. I don't think it tells the full picture, because I have that picture, that's what I'm trying to say. Because Raul Jimenez's goal, the only goal in the game, was obviously a really huge chance. So, of course, that gives you a goal. But I don't think Fulham had that many like major chances apart from that. They had some really nice chances. They had like a lot of like decent chances, rather than having like some major ones. But Raul Jimenez was the game-winning player in the end. Also, another winner for FPL owners, a DEFCON winner, is Joachim Andersen, who once again got defensive contribution points with 15 defensive contributions, 10 points from him. With bonus points and also a clean sheet in this game. So the solid home form for Fulham continues. At home, they've actually been really good. Away from home, they've been really bad. So that's something to keep in mind with Fulham. Sunderland, kind of the same. They're not as good away from home as they are at home at the Stadium of Light. So I guess it makes sense with the 1-0 win here for Fulham. Really nice, well-taken goal from Raul Jimenez, with the assist from Chukwueze with a really nice cross. Kevin also had some really nice involvements in this game as well. Had one like run where he had a shot that was saved. That looked pretty good. But Fulham, I think it was sort of deserved to win 1-0 in this game. Even though the expected goal says 2-0, I think 1-0 or 2-0 is like a fair result in this match. Fulham getting another clean sheet. They've shown that they are pretty good at getting clean sheets in these easier matches. But against tougher opposition, especially away from home, or against tougher opposition at home or away from home against anyone, I wouldn't really count on a clean sheet either for Fulham. But Anderson, really good asset, of course, getting DEFCON points and clean sheets. He's the main takeover for Fulham. I don't really think you can trust either striker, because Raul Jimenez and Rodrigo Muniz keep switching who's going to be the starter there. And in midfield, I just don't think there are any good Fulham assets. So basically, Anderson or bust from the Fulham players. Sunderland, I think, I've written as the main takeaway from them, heading into struggle, because they have some really tough matches now. They have super tough matches in the next 4 games. And once the fixtures sort of let up a little bit, they lose quite a few players to African Cup of Nations. Mainly, they're going to lose Sadiki, who's been fantastic for them in midfield, in the absence of Habib Diarra, who they would have lost to African Cup of Nations, but he's still out injured. But anyways, without those two guys in midfield, Xhaka's going to have even more defensive responsibilities for Sunderland, and I think they're going to struggle a bit, because they're losing quite a lot of players to African Cup of Nations. Some of them are like more bit part players, so I don't think it's going to be too bad, but I think it's like 6 or 7 players. I shouldn't have said that, but probably 6 players that they're lacking for the African Cup of Nations period of the schedule in FPL. So yeah, Sunderland players, I think it's like a bit tough to choose them, but they're still a good home team at least. So you could count on them. Michele, for example, is really cheap. He also always gets defensive contribution points or attacking returns, or potentially both. 14 defensive contributions in this game, and got defensive contribution points in this game as well. So Anderson, Michele, we know how good they are at DEFCON, and they were the only 2 guys to get DEFCON from this game as well. But Sunderland getting Alderete pretty soon back. He's also going to be another guy in that category who could get those kinds of points. But yeah, deserved 1-0 win for Fulham. Sunderland didn't really have too much in this game in general. Enzo Lefebvre had a pretty good shot, I think, and that was it. But yeah, Sunderland probably will return with a win at home once they get the next home game, potentially. Or that's going to be a tough fixture, probably. Or is it against Liverpool? It might actually be against Liverpool. Maybe not. Maybe I'm speaking spreading misinformation here. But anyways, let's move on to the final game because this is dragging on a little bit and it is past midnight, so that's maybe why I'm a bit here and there. Also, there's a lot of games to go through and it's one take, so of course that's what you have to live with on this channel. But anyways, let's wrap it up with Leeds against Aston Villa. And the main takeaway from this game is just Morgan Rogers being a fantastic football player and getting back into form and looking like a really good asset. They have Wolves at home next game week. Rogers is someone that I would definitely have on a free hit in game week 13. I did have a video about either free hitting or wildcarding in game week 13, and Rogers was in both of those teams that I had, both the projected free hit team and the projected wildcard team for game week 13. Rogers was in because he looks like a much better player than he did earlier in the season. And it showed that, especially in this game. Really good first goal. Second goal was also a fantastic free kick that he was able to take because Emiliano Buendia was subbed off right before. And that tells you all you need to know about the minutes thing, which is so huge in FPL. If you play 90 minutes, you're going to be more likely to get goals. You're going to be more likely to have set piece duties or penalty duties because potentially like the first penalty taker or set piece taker might be out or subbed off. And that tells the story from this game with Rogers getting the free kick goal on top of the first goal that he had in this game. So yeah, great from him. Malen got the assist from him on the first goal. I think he's been a main reason why Aston Villa have looked a bit better offensively. Daniel Malen sort of unlocks a bit more in their attack. Watkins is still struggling. One goal from the first opening like 12 games. Really bad for him, but Rogers is looking better and better each game week. Ice cold Rogers with 2 goals in this game. But Leeds, as they've made a habit of in the past few game weeks, they scored the opening goal and then they don't really do much after that. That happened again this time around, and that's what I've written as the main takeaway. Anton Stach, who a lot of people, he got a lot of points. A lot of people brought him in on Walker in game week 6. Then a lot of people sold him, and now he started to perform again after people have sold him. He basically just went completely for it, got stuck in, jumped up for the ball. Really bad from Emiliano Martinez on the goal, by the way, from Leeds. But Stach basically forced a big chance for Leeds and Nemecha, who had basically no issues to just put the ball over the line. I think that was a pretty high XG shot. That's part of the reason why he has the best non-penalty expected goal moment from this game. But he scored the opening goal for Leeds, and then Rogers basically turned it back for Aston Villa, who, again, I have to remind you, playing at home against Wolves next game week. If you want Aston Villa assets, this is the time to jump on them. Maybe this game week was the time to jump on them, especially Rogers with his 15 points in this game. But now, if you didn't know already, Wolves at home, that's going to be a really nice match for both their attacking assets. Rogers, Malen, mostly. I don't think I would trust Watkins, even on a free hit. And defensively, Medicash and potentially Martinez as a goalkeeper. That's the 2 I selected for the free hit team that I had in the video that I had on Monday, which was should you free hit or wildcard in game week 13. Now you have gotten the wrap up from game week 12 in the FPL eye test. You're also going to get the weekly wildcard draft video on Wednesday. You're going to get the FPL School podcast on Thursday, and you're going to get the team selection video on Friday as well. So if all those things sound appealing to you and you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and you'll get all those videos in your feed. And you'll be able to watch all the content that I have for you guys. Yes, I know I have 3 straight red arrows in a row, but that's taken me down from 40k to 46k, so I'm not too fussed really. I've been doing like okay the last few game weeks, treading water as I'm waiting to do my wildcard, and at that point I'm hoping to gain some more ground again and go up the ranks and get into the top 10k, which is my goal every single season in FPL, and potentially even further than that. I think I still have a decent chance of getting potentially my best finish ever in FPL. As you can see, my best rank ever was in the 2011-12 season. I have a lot of experience in this game. That's when I ended 1,348 overall, but I think there was only like 1 or 2 million people who played FPL at that point, and now there's like 12 million. So I think my rank in 23-24, for example, 8.8k is a bit more impressive, in my opinion, than my best rank, actually. But yeah, I have a lot of experience in this game. I have a lot of thoughts, of course, as you've seen in this video, about both all the matches and all the players and all the potential players, all the potential matches. And I try to cover that as best as I can in these one-take videos, which I've gotten a lot of praise for in the comment section. So thanks for that, everyone praising the one-take videos. I hope you enjoyed them. It's a bit more like here and there. Of course, I'm going to stumble some words. I'm going to struggle to speak like I just did now sometimes. And what I'm looking for, I'm trying to explain how I'm struggling to explain things sometimes. Yeah, a bit meta there. But anyways, that is probably a telltale sign that I should wrap up this video. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, all that good stuff. Comment down below, which is like the main thing I like the most when it comes to interacting with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope some of it was useful for you. Maybe it was just all dribble, but maybe I kept you company. Maybe I kept you humored or entertained. I did my job if that's the case as well. Maybe you had an hour of just complete boredom. Sorry about that if that's the case, but yeah, you can just shut off the video anyways if that was the case. So, and you mostly did. Like, you probably wouldn't watch still if you didn't find any of this interesting, because yeah, I've been talking for 55 minutes now and it's past midnight and I really have to go to sleep. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.